I'm going to start out by asking you, 2007, January, Dan Rooney called me and said, we're hiring one of your guys. And I called you and said, you're going to love it. Was I right?
Man, you were more than right. you know, I think about that time all the time because it was just such a wild time. But I think that's been the most beautiful thing about it, that everyone that had firsthand knowledge of this organization shared that sentiment, and so it's been awesome, man. Since day zero,
What's been the best part of being a Steeler for you?
the legacy, the men that have come before us, the standards that they've set for us, the unbelievable support that we have from them, to be able to call some of those men my friend, it's just been a beautiful component just to be a part of the legacy that is this organization, and be alongside some of the great men that really laid the foundation.
Well, you talk about the standard all the time, and the standard is high here, high expectations.
No doubt.
How is that to deal with?
I love it. uh, the competitor in me loves it, certainly. I want to be the world champion every year, and we've fallen consistently short of that, particularly in recent years. And so, I share the frustration. I do. I love the standard. Like I've always run to, challenge is not a way. Man, you want to have high standards, man. I've been in circumstances where the standards are low and they're less fun. To be quite honest with you, I love that. I love that mantra. I love being a part of a program that has a responsibility of bearing that expectation.
You talked about some of the great men who went before you. If you guys win this game, you're going to tie my old coach for Chuck Noll for the most wins in Steeler history. Now, I know the division championship and all that is more important, but will that mean something to you?
You know, I don't know that it does because I'm just living it. I'm certainly appreciative of this longevity that I've been able to have here, and the stability that we've had. But just, individual records with the gravity of what's in front of us right now as a collective. I've just learned to share the urgency of the men. Their careers are short.
Yeah.
I've been in this league 25 years, man, since I was a very young man. I've seen generations of players. And so I just think the longer I'm in it, the more I'm urgent, the more I'm in the present, the now for those guys, because their careers are so short. And so I've just trained myself to kind of minimize some of those global thoughts or longevity or individual related things. It's certainly been an honor to be in position to be here and have conversations like that. But my energy and my focus is this group and this journey.
When you talk about urgency, we've got some in this game, right?
No doubt. Ain't no doubt.
What now I know you lean on your veteran crew, but what do you tell the young guys on this team about this night and what it's going to mean?
I try to capture the now in the process. I think when you do that for them, like, how you're going to feel on Sunday night. How do you bottle that thought, that energy into productive days of preparation? And so that's kind of been the conversation we've been having repeatedly during the course of the week, because I believe in that. You want to perform well on Sunday night, man. You got to have a great Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, the process. And so I've been starting days with that mentality about all of that energy and urgency that we're going to have on Sunday night. How are we going to display that today in preparation? And so we've had some good days of urgency from a preparation standpoint. And I've just learned to always gauge that by communication, formal and informal. Okay. And sometimes I just lay back and listen to the guys talk to each other. Whether it's something very formal or whether it's just gaining some understanding in an informal way. And I just like the sound of what I've heard this week.
Have you tried to put some informal stuff to your guys?
All the time.
What's the key informal thing for this week?
you know that, you know, this is history, and we're having an opportunity to live it out, you know, to be a part of the great legacy of this rivalry, the weight of this game. They're little pieces of football immortality, if you will. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a humbling thing. It's probably what most of us have been dreaming about all our football lives. And so I just want them to capture the moment. And so I use whatever tool at my disposal, you know, to make sure that happens.
You talk about this rivalry. This will be 40 times for you and John Harbaugh. That's unbelievable, first of all. But is there anything that you guys don't know about each other now?
You know, I doubt there is, you know.
Have they ever done anything lately that surprised you? Or
No, and I'm sure they'd say the same about us, you know. It's an interesting thing, man, this rivalry. And his longevity is a component of it, coupled with mine. We've seen a lot, you know, but I'm sure he'll agree with me. Like, there's been a lot of moving pieces around us. And I just think about the men that I work with in those particular moments, and helping them capture those moments. And certainly he and I have had different groups over those 40 games. And so, you know, it's about this group that we have versus the group that he has. I wish that Hines was playing in this game. James Harrison, I'm sure he wished Suggs and Ray Lewis was playing. Ed Reed was playing in this game. But those are the
that's
men.
the legacy that
Yeah,
you're
those are
building on. Yeah.
those are the men that have made this what it is. And I always have respect for that. People always ask me about the rivalry, and I always say it's the special men that particularly played in it at my early years of my career, and being a component of it, what those guys were willing to do. And just, you know, history has told a story because a lot of those guys have gold jackets, you know. It's just special.
Well, this particular night, you got a big challenge on defense, locking up Derrick Henry. How are you guys going to get that done?
You know, we better pack the line of scrimmage. You know, the schematic component of it, you can't deny the schematic component of it. They do a lot of things to challenge you with their gap scheme, pull schemes, and their 11-man football because of quarterback mobility. They leave you no choice but to put appropriate number of people in and around the line of scrimmage. And so it starts there for us, that commitment. And then picking our spots when not to do so. And so there's a strategy or a cat and mouse component of it. It always is. That's why it makes every down so urgent when you're playing against a guy like him, who can wage a war of attrition because he's a big guy and the way that the power falls, but he also is a home run hitter. And so it's just extreme urgency in that cat and mouse game every time the ball snaps. It is significant.
Seems like for you guys, Derek Harmon being there elevates the play. What is he going to mean for you?
You know, he certainly has talent in that area. That's why we drafted him in round 1. But it's also the depth component of his presence. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that. Like, he provides quality play, but when he's back and available for us, there's strength in numbers. The rotation is a little bit thicker, and I think that helps us as well. But he's having a great year. He's a strong young man. He can shed and make plays. He's got a productive mentality. He wants to get to the ball. He wants to come off blocks. And I just think that's why he's been effective at the early stages of his career.
And then on the other end of the spectrum, I know Cam Hayward is just special in these big games. What has he been like this week?
Like a caged animal, you know. You know, I enjoy Cam because he has a perspective that very few like have on this game, this rivalry. Like, he played alongside the Casey Hamptons, the Aaron Smiths. He knows what it's like to play against those teams. He's seen a lot since 2011 when he came into this league. And so he he probably shares a more similar perspective to me than anyone else. And so it's been a fun week to
You
engage.
think the guys want to win for him?
No question. No question. It's been a fun week just walking him through the week and reminiscing and all of that. He doesn't always get a chance to work the way he'd like to work because it's my job to protect him from him. I don't want him to leave his game on the practice field. And so it's just been a fun week that way.
On the other side of the ball, you've got a veteran quarterback that's played in a lot of these big games. What do you expect from Aaron?
It's really why we did business with him. You think back to the conversations that we had in the spring about why do you do business with a 41, 42-year-old quarterback. It's just that. It's that experience that you can't buy, that big game experience. It's the reason why he still does it. He's seen all this game has to offer. And so one of the early questions that I had for him is, what drives him? Why does he still do it? Why does he still have a desire to do it? And it's these moments. And so, I'm excited for him. I'm excited to be with him. I know he's going to play well.
Last time you played these guys, DK Metcalf had a huge game. He's not going to be there. How do you make up for that? He steps in.
I don't know that we do. But,
okay.
I think when you lose significant guys, man, you pivot and you lean on the strength of those that are available to you. And so it might make the makeup of what you do a little bit different. But I think they're different too. They meaning the Baltimore collective. I think that they're playing less man-to-man. They're in less single high man-to-man than the last time we played them. That's been a significant schematic shift.
So you're going to have to attack differently anyway.
And I see that. And teams evolve during the course of the journey, particularly when your back's against the wall and you do the things that you have to do. You forget the off-season vision that you had for perfection. You have red paint, man. You paint your barn red. You know what I mean? And I just think that's where they are. And so I think there might be less of those opportunities that distinguished DK's performance last time, to be honest with you. And so we need to be prepared to do it differently anyway.
What is there one thing that you're going to look at and say, if this goes the way it should, we're going to be okay?
I like to say rush defense, but we've won games in this series where they've run for 200 yards. I think what's defined this series is the takeaways and giveaways, and then the weighty plays at the significant moments. And so that's where we spend our energy and prep. We got to take care of the football. We certainly got to hunt the football. We got to gain an advantage in that space in all three phases. And lastly, man, we got to be ready for the significant weighty moments, the possession downs in the red area that are 4-point plays.
Which you guys were great at in the last game.
We have to be. You're going to win games this time of year versus really good teams. Those double situational plays, those fourth down plays, or what have you, we got to play well in.
And lastly, we've kind of talked about who might not be playing, but it looks like you have TJ back. I see a smile on your face.
Hey, coaching's overrated sometimes. You know what I mean?
I do know, yes.
Hey, that guy, you talk about the special relationships in this series, right? That guy has a relationship with Lamar Jackson. They came on the scene roughly about the same time, and they've seen a lot of each other. And whether they want to or not, man, they're tied together historically. I viewed the same way with Big Ben and Suggs.
Yeah.
And so I know he wanted this.
Was there any way you were going to keep him out of the game? Probably not.
I'm sure they had no chance of keeping Lamar out of the game. It's just what's kind of made this a special rivalry is the men. And so the fact that he's playing is big for us. The fact that Lamar is playing is big for them. But that will component of the men that make the plays is a beautiful thing.
I heard you refer to this as AFC North Championship Week. What is that all about, and what does that mean to you?
You know, we got young guys, and I just want to put a perspective on it. You know, the Big Ten guys know what the Big Ten championship's about. The SEC guys, they know what the trip to Atlanta and Mercedes-Benz is about. And so I just wanted to paint that illustration of what this game is. It's not at a neutral site. It happens to be in our home venue, but it is the AFC North Championship. And so I think that teaches maybe the young guys how to behave this week. They've been in those circumstances. A guy like Jack Sawyer, you know, he's been in those circumstances. And so I just wanted to paint a picture for the young guy about what this game is and how to behave. They can draw a frame of reference from their recent experience in that way.
I know you've talked about the winner goes on, goes to the playoffs. Have you mentioned that the loser goes home?
No, that's assumed. You know, I like to speak things into life, and so I've chosen to talk about the other
Positive.
end of it.
Okay.
But I certainly am aware of that.
Well, Mike, thank you. This has been awesome.
No, thank you.
Always good to see
Always.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.